Okay, I might be exaggerating with that title. Or am I? Hey, Vsauce, Alex here. Okay, so for the people who didn't know, around late January, I decided to start very slowly, obviously, because it's me we're talking about, a complete Star Wars franchise binge. I was gonna watch pretty much everything in theatrical order, so the order of when they released, starting with episodes 4, 5, 6, which came out first, the prequels.
I don't like sand.
The new stuff.
Oh my God!
And then the shows like Clone Wars,
sensational,
Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, all that stuff. I started this because last time I watched Star Wars, I was like 6, and I also never watched the new stuff, so I thought it would be cool to just watch them all back to back, also because my memory is not the best. And as you can see by the title, I reached the 3rd film in the franchise, Return of the Jedi. Wow. Before I start talking about that, though, if you need a thumbnail, intro, or something like a YouTube short for your channel, please check out my Fiverr because it helps me a lot as a creator. And for things like intros, I also have a perfect 5-star review, so yeah. Also, here are my reviews for Episode 4, A New Hope, and Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Because before we start talking about this movie, I just thought I'd show you all what I thought about the other movies, so you can just pause that and read it if you want. And now it's time to watch me ramble about how amazing Star Wars is.
I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me. So be it, Jedi.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
If not himself, then he has not say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels.
Okay, so Return of the Jedi. Where do I even start? This movie just jumped right into the story, which I liked. No time was really wasted here. You know, we instantly go to the Jabba the Hutt stuff, which was last seen in, I think, A New Hope. And it was good to see the feud between Solo and Jabba finally end, thanks to Luke and Leia saving him from that little blot he was in from the last movie. I actually liked the first half of this movie. I know that's kind of a hot take. There were some parts that got slow and stuff, but I didn't really have a huge problem with it because I thought it was fun. They were getting all those little plot points with Jabba and stuff over with so that we could finally get that finale with Vader. And I think George Lucas did that pretty well. It didn't feel like they were rushing the Jabba and Solo moments too much, and it also feel like it was too slow. I thought it was decently paced and it had some really cool moments, like when Leia was undercover and tried to save Solo, and later on, Luke's little fight on that ship before Leia kills Jabba. That was a really cool part. We also got to see more Boba Fett, which is great because I like Boba Fett, but then he died 5 minutes later, so that sucks. After that is when the Darth Vader stuff starts, though. Basically when the movie becomes peak fiction. There's so many great moments here that make the characters somehow like even better than they were before, and the dialogue during this final half of the movie is some of the best in the franchise so far. Like when Vader and the Sith Emperor guy, I think he's the Sith, I think that's announced in the prequels though, so I don't know. So far he's just the Emperor for me. When they were talking about how Luke is bound to seek Vader, and that's when they'll fight and they'll bring him to the dark side, and then the next time they do see each other in that little hallway, it is no fight, it's just dialogue. Really, really good dialogue. Luke telling Vader that he can still sense the good in him, you know, that Anakin is still alive in there, and that he can feel that deep down Vader isn't truly evil. That whole interaction is just perfect because they're not fighting, no one's there to stop them, it's just a one-on-one conversation. And I also like the part where Vader takes Luke's new green lightsaber and he's like, "I see you have been training," or whatever he says. That was a really cool part too.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber.
It's easily one of my favorite moments in the whole movie, and that's one thing I also love about Star Wars as a whole so far, is just the dialogue. After that is when Luke basically meets the Emperor guy, who so far has predicted everything correctly. And that whole section of the movie is just perfect because we see Luke struggle with his thoughts and his emotions as the Emperor starts to like continuously taunt him. And when Luke finally gives in to his temptations and goes to kill the Emperor, Vader steps in. And that whole fight was just so good, with Luke hiding in the shadows as they're talking, and then one person jumps out. And you know, the choreography of that too was just, oh my god. So far this has the best choreography in the franchise. It's way too good. But as the fight continues, we see Luke become more aggressive, basically proving the villain's point, and he becomes so filled with rage at one point that he just ends up slicing Vader's hand off with that aggression. And that scene is just super shocking because usually we would see the opposite. You know, the hero is pushed down by the villain and something happens to the hero, kind of like in Empire Strikes Back when Vader sliced Luke's hand on Cloud City. And it's also shocking because Luke is always like a really kind-hearted protagonist, right? Then we get that moment of self-realization from Luke. You know, he gets up and he delivers a super powerful line telling the Emperor that he's wrong and that he's a Jedi warrior like his father before him. He won't succumb to the dark side. It's a super hype moment, and it's a perfect piece of dialogue, man. Like, it's just too good. I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's just too good. But what's crazier is that it gets even better. Somehow that's not even the best part. I'm not sure how that's possible, but it got even better. During the entire moment where the Emperor starts zapping Luke with his little lightning fingers, all Vader does is stand back and watch. He doesn't say a word. He's just forced to look at that, even when Luke is screaming and begging for Vader to help him. And then just like Luke said, Vader no longer exists, and Anakin just comes back, and he grabs the Emperor as he screams, and he launches him over the edge as he gets brutally electrocuted. And then we see yet another perfect one-on-one moment between Luke and Vader. When Vader asks Luke to take off his mask, Luke says he can't leave Anakin here and that he has to save him. And when Anakin replies, "You already have, Luke. You were right about me." Man. And then Vader dies. Luke leaves, but we don't fully see that because then it starts to focus on Calrissian or whatever his name is shooting the center of the Death Star. So they succeed in their plan. You know, they shoot the center of the Death Star. It explodes. Blah, blah, blah. Han Solo and Leia see the Death Star explode from the ground. And Solo's like, oh, I'm sure Luke will be fine. You know, he probably wasn't in the Death Star when it exploded. He can't die. You know, he's the main character. And then, let me tell you, the smile I had on my face on this part, when Leia gets up and says, he's not dead, I can feel it. Because before that, Luke was telling her about the Force and stuff and how they're brother and sister, so like the Force is connected between them. My god, I'm sorry, this movie is just too good. What's even crazier is that isn't even the best part of the movie. It's not sad, it's just like so happy sad at the same time. I don't know how to describe it. So everyone's partying after the Death Star explodes, right? But then we cut to Luke making a fire, and as the flames start, we can see that something's burning in the fire. And when we zoom in, it's Vader. Luke brought down his body and cremated him, gave Anakin a funeral. It's such a beautiful shot too, because he stands there, he's staring into the fire with this sad face as it zooms out, and we just see Luke from his back staring into the fire as the camera goes up, and then fireworks explode from the other people celebrating. During that scene, no words were spoken, but there was so much emotion, because you can just see it in Luke's face and his body language as he just stares into the flames as the flames continue to rise. It's so beautiful, and that part was just so sad. Mark Hamill is such a good actor. And it also hits hard because of what just happened before with Vader's little redemption right there. And that whole moment was really heart-shattering. But, oh boy, it gets worse. George Lucas, I know you're not watching this video, but I hate you, bro. Why must you make me feel this way? Why must you hurt me like this? When Luke comes back to celebrate with his friends after burning Vader's body, it's a cute moment, you know. They're partying, they're celebrating, they're having fun. But in the middle of all that, Luke kind of gets distracted, and he looks off to his side. And when he looks off to his side, he sees the ghosts of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and now not Darth Vader, not the bad guy, but the ghost of the real Anakin Skywalker, looking back at Luke with a smile. And then the movie ends. Oh boy, I can't even lie, that was soul crushing. That left me with tears in my eyes.
I would never cry to a Frank Ocean song. Let's be honest. I am a man.
And it caught me off guard, man. Just thinking and talking about it, I got chills. That moment is genuinely one of the most beautiful scenes that I've seen in a movie, and that's why I'm about to throw this hot take at you. I think Return of the Jedi is pretty much equal to Empire Strikes Back. This has to be one of the best and most well done endings to a movie and a trilogy that I have ever seen. Was the first part of this movie a little slow and kind of awkward at times with its pacing and story and all that? Yeah. But Return of the Jedi was still a well-crafted and beautiful movie from beginning to its amazing end. And that is why Return of the Jedi broke me. Because of that stupid ending, and George Lucas, I don't like you anymore. And that's the end of the video. This wasn't originally what I wanted to put out, but this movie was just so good I couldn't help but talk about it. If there's any other movie, anime, or comic book, or anything you want to see me talk about, please throw it in the comments. Also, if you have an opinion on the video or the movie, please throw it in the comments. I love reading and replying to them. But that's it from me, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.